to introduce Julie. Are you ready for our keynote? Okay, so this is Julie. She is a friend of mine that I met many years ago at a different type of conference, and I think she is awesome. She is so positive and great motivational speaker, and so we brought her here today to talk a little bit about finding that positive place even if a lot of things around you feel really negative. So, good morning, and let's welcome Julie.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Great. Good, good. As you can see, I was born with a situation that was very obvious to everyone but me at first. It's a type of dwarfism called, wait for this, spondyloepiphyseal dysplasia congenita. Impressive, right? Little teeny baby with this huge big name. Do you guys know Mary Poppins?
Yes.
And the song Supercalifragilistic?
Yes.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I recently realized that my type of dwarfism has the same amount of syllables. Spondyloepiphyseal congenita dysplasia. Doesn't it sound different when it's said like that?
Yes.
That label I was given was such a heavy, heavy burden to bear. And when I think of it as supercalifragilistic, it makes it a little lighter. Because in our minds and in our hearts, the way we look at who we are and the labels we've been given and the treatment we've been given and the tough stuff we've run into can be lightened up by the way we look at it and feel about it in our heart. I was called so many names. I'm sure you all can relate. By bullies, by peers, by doctors, by adults who didn't know what to make of me. So this quote, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we're challenged to change ourselves. And I'm still trying to learn that. When something new comes up and knocks me down, it's inside where I can find the empowerment. We can still try and change outer circumstances, but this I can't change. And I can't change how people respond to me, but I can change how I respond to what's going on. Next one. You become what you believe. So I heard the words deformed, abnormal, misaligned, disabled, all these words were so imprisoning to me. I defined myself by my body. I defined myself by my dwarfism because it seemed like such a focus. You know, all the white coats, it was this focus. All the people around me, well, not all. That's the BS inside of me that thinks it's everybody that was against me. It wasn't. But the ones that gave me a hard time really stood out in my mind, because I had to make peace with the fact that I was agreeing with them. I was becoming what I believed, which was the opinion of other people. I have 5 siblings. I'm the baby, and my brother born right before me was also born with supercalifragilistic. And my parents brought us every year to Boston because I lived in New Jersey, but Boston had genetic specialists. And they wanted to learn more about me. My type of dwarfism was rare. And this one year, my brother and I was maybe 9, we went to what was going to be, instead of the Center for Birth Defects, another label, I thought, I'm a defect. Great. What a way to start. Instead, that year, we went to a convention. And I remember my parents sat my brother and I down, and it seemed really serious and scary. And I could swear they were nervous, which made me doubly nervous. And I hated going to Boston because I felt like a guinea pig. I felt like they were all looking at this and no one knew what was inside my heart. No one asked me what I was thinking about. They were just looking at this big distraction, my earth costume, that is not who I am. So I was really nervous about this convention. After after we've been there a while, we've had exams and x-rays and poking and prodding. One doctor leads me away to a room, and when he opens the doors, it's filled with other white coats. And my heart drops. And he brings me to the front of the room, just like now, and starts talking about me to the room. This part is deformed, this part is not doing what it should be, a lot of Latin words I didn't understand. And then he turned to me and looked me in the eye, and I recognized him with these very black Vulcan eyebrows, which made me think he was evil, even though Vulcans aren't evil, but I thought he was evil because he was pointing out all my flaws. And he wasn't talking about who I was, so I thought I was my flaws. And he turns to me and he says, and I'm thinking, we're done, we're finally done with this torture. And he says, can we put you up on a table? Because everyone here wants to see your pretty face. Was that the truth? They weren't looking here. It was this. I was 9 and I knew he was lying. Why was this adult doctor lying? Boldly in front of a whole room. And guess what? I wanted to say, no, you can't put me on a table. But I was taught to do what I was told, so guess what I said? Yes, sure. And up I went, like here, boom. And guess what? The table was wobbling. So I was up there with him talking about all the bad things that were happening and things that couldn't be repaired and would never be right, up on a table. And I'm looking out and I see the people nodding, and they're men back then, nodding and writing on their clipboards because we didn't have devices, and looking very, very serious. And I am thinking, I am so screwed. Like, I'm a mess. This is why I'm here. No one's going to know what's in here, and no one cares. So after that was done, they took me down, and guess what? I smiled. I just smiled. Put on a brave face, stuffed all of my anger, all of my hurt inside. And it wouldn't come out for years later in very inappropriate times because I wasn't given permission then to feel what I felt. Next one. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Yeah?
That kind of reminds me of something I had to deal with a little, which I won't go into big detail because he still makes me feel uncomfortable.
Well, thank you for telling us, because it's important that everybody knows we've been through this. This is universal, and not just us in this room, but every human.
Yeah, though it was kind of minor compared to your case, and I feel so sorry for you.
Aw. Well, it's not minor for you, though. You don't have to compare to me. We don't have to compare to each other.
Yes.
It's important because you experienced it, and if you were younger, the little girl in you...
Actually, I wasn't that much younger. It was only a couple of years ago.
Still, though, usually when we suffer, it's something that we've suffered with earlier when we're young, and it re-triggers it, which is why it's so big. It feels so painful.
Yes.
Thank you, though, just for the courage to share that you're connected to this and you understand.
Thanks. And I'm sure my mom has had some difficult times in her past.
I'm sure Mom has. Yeah, my mom, too. So I was consenting with what the doctor said about me. I was saying, yep, I'm no good. What the bully said, I went, And that's really the problem, because the things we can't change, our bodies, our conditions, why do we fight against that? What we can change is within ourselves and how we respond. What we decide about who we are. Next one. Don't believe everything you think. We have a lot of thoughts we've been thinking so long, they've become an entire belief system, BS, because it feels like reality, but it's not. It's what other people said, it's what we inherited from our culture, it's what we got within our family, from very well-meaning people, but who didn't know that what was going on for us was hidden. There's a part of the brain called the RAS, the reticular activating system. And its job, it's kind of like Google. It searches what you put in. And the RAS's job is to edit out of the 60,000 bits of data we are bombarded with every day. It's edited down to about 40 or 400, I don't remember the statistics, but otherwise we'd go nuts. So the RAS focuses on what we're interested in and what we believe, good or bad. So for instance, we just got a new car. It's a used car, but it's new to our family, and it's unique looking. It kind of looks like an old-fashioned car. And I'd never seen this car before, so I thought it was doubly unique. But then once I go out on the road, I'm like, oh, and there's one, oh, and over there, that's my RAS. Now it knows it's looking for this type of car, and it sees it everywhere. So we can either use our RAS to lock on what we're hoping to find, what we're dreaming of, or we can lock on to the negative stuff that people have said, or the negative expectations in a day. So let's do a quick exercise. For 10 seconds, I'm going to count while you all look around the room, ready, and count everything you see that's blue. Okay, ready? Go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Okay, stop. That was 10 seconds. Good job. Okay, now answer my question without looking around. How many red things are in the room?
I know
See,
one.
Your RAS was not looking for red. It was looking for blue. So if we wake up in the morning and we're looking for like, oh, a boring day, or, stay to myself, stay safe, that's what we see, that's what we find. If we wake up in the morning and we think, I think good things are coming my way. I think there's stuff out there that's going to be helpful and fun. Guess what? Beep, 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 beep. We start locking onto that. Because the good and the bad is all out there, but it's where we put our focus that really matters. Okay, next. Sally is my assistant with my slides. When you stand and share your story in an empowering way, your story will heal you, and your story will heal somebody else. When I was 34, I'm 52 now. I know I don't look it, but I'm 52. Almost 20 years ago, I lost the use of my right shoulder from the degenerative arthritis that comes with my supercalifragilistic. I'd already had my hips replaced. I'd already had both knees replaced. I could not face having my shoulders replaced. But what this meant was I had to stop my freelance art business. I was an artist. I did calligraphy for weddings. I had a greeting card line. I did some portraits. And art was the one thing that I got positive attention for, not negative. And now, because of my shoulder, gone. And I thought, what? Have I not been through enough? I threw myself a very big pity party for months and months. I don't even know how long it went on. When my dad suggested that I get a computer, so this was before we all had computers. Can you believe there was a day? And he said, you can try computer graphics, digital art with your left hand on the keyboard. Dad had this crazy idea that computers were the wave of the future. And I ignored his brilliance for a little while until I realized, well, I might as well try it. So I got a computer. Before I could even start with the graphics program, I got hooked on email. And we didn't have, social media or texting then. Email started to connect me to my friends, some family that was online. And for the first time, I started to share my story, honestly, because I was so desperate. I'd lost my art. That was my expression, my color, and my connection to myself. So I started writing to them and telling them how awful this was, and life was against me, and my body was going to ruin everything. And guess what? They responded. He said, well, we don't have your circumstances, but we kind of feel the same way. Like, life is hard. But we're with you. We're behind you. We don't have the same scars you have, but we've got scars. And I felt so amazed that I wasn't alone and I wasn't a freak. They felt like a freak too. And they all looked like average to me. So I just kept writing. It was so exciting and it was so therapeutic. And guess what happened? My right hand started jumping in. And I would put it down because it would go in pain. But over the weeks, the pain started to diminish. The arthritis is still there. I never had the surgery. But the deep, dark, emotional pain that was starting to come out as I wrote and expressed myself helped my shoulder. Next one. Weep what you must weep, not only for this loss, but for all other losses you have sustained in this life. As I wrote, I was grieving. Those times in my childhood that hurt, those times in my adulthood that hurt, that I didn't want to let anybody know. I thought my weakness made me weak. And instead, sharing it makes us stronger. It's a weird paradox. But letting out the emotion that we're all kind of trying to hold in because it's a little scary for people to see us vulnerable. And meanwhile, our vulnerability is the direct channel to our heart, to the truth of who we are. And as I wrote, I touched on this more and more, and I'd cry, and then I'd get excited that I'd cry some more, and then I'd get angry, and then I'd cry, and then I started to feel lighter. Have you ever had that happen? After a good cry, you feel better? Has anybody had that happen? Yeah, it's human. These emotions are just part of being human. We can't stuff them away. Your circumstances aren't really in your way. They're showing you the way. If I hadn't lost the use of my shoulder, I never would have discovered this incredible therapy and new form of creativity in my writing. And it turned into a book, my memoir called Nothing Short of Joy. I have copies back there, about my journey from thinking I was utterly freakish and victim to realizing I had so much more power than I realized by tapping into my heart, my joy that's there with all of us when we're born, all of us when we're young, and it gets stamped down over time, but it never goes away, it's still there. Sometimes buried under grief that just needs to be expressed. Even broken crayons still color. So much of our brokenness actually brings out who we truly are, as long as we're honest about the difficulties, sharing the challenges, times like these, with each other, with the world, step by step, realizing that the ways in which we've seen adversity and the world said we were disadvantaged is actually an advantage to being more human, more real, more who you came to be. Not like other people, like you. Because the way we are weak is actually connecting us. And you know how lonely this world is? And how much they need connection? And we are the ones who can show them that. That it's valuable to show our vulnerability, to show an open heart, even after it's been broken over and over, to learn to still open it again to joy to new possibilities, to our higher potential. Being human is a handicap for everyone. We came for the challenge anyway. I was driving with my two sons. I have an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old. And my oldest, when he was maybe 10, was in the back seat. He was staring out the window. I could see his wheels were turning, and he suddenly said, "Mom, if I was in spirit before I was born, and I'm going back there afterward, why don't I remember?" And I thought, oh, wow, that's a big question. Great minds have tossed that one around for centuries. I'm like, quick, what do I think? I said to him, if we knew we were eternal, that we had an eternal soul that couldn't really be hurt here on earth, that we're not this body, that we're really light and joy and love, so then it wouldn't be much of a challenge here. It wouldn't be an adventure. It would be like hide and seek, but no place to hide. Or did you guys play Marco Polo when you were young? You know, in the water, one person closes their eyes and says, "Marco," and the others with open eyes are like, "Polo, Polo." If your eyes were open, it'd be way easier. So we make things harder because the challenge is fun. If you heard the game Pin the Tail on the Donkey? Yeah?
I definitely have.
Yeah. That's like my generation. It's an oldie, but it's a picture of a donkey. It has no tail. All the kids at the party are given a tail with a pin. And then we're blindfolded, and then our friends turn us around, so we're really disoriented. And then we have to walk toward the donkey and hopefully pin it someplace near the butt, which, you know, of course, never happens. You hit the ear and the refrigerator, and everybody's laughing, and the challenge of it is fun. So my son is taking this in, and he says, it's kind of like my video games. First time through, really hard. I don't know where stuff is. I don't know where I'm going to be killed, or where there's money, or where there's treasure, or how to do things. I got to do it over and over and over. Second time through, little easier. I remember some stuff. Still got to do some things over, but it goes faster. Third time through, pretty easy. I said, which time is your favorite? He said, oh, the first time. It's the hardest, but it's the most fun. And I was like, right, yes, that's what I mean. This is a video game we're in. We don't know the ending. But it's like a movie where when you first watch it and you don't know the ending, it's way more exciting. It's also fun to watch it when you do know the ending because you notice other details. But the first time is the memorable one, don't you think? That's this life. I would like to know it's all going to work out, but I just got to have faith that it's going to work out, because then, beep, 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 that's where I'm focused. It's going to work out. This is going to work out. My shoulder leading to something good, redirecting me to something better. I once imagined that my pain and heartbreak was unprecedented in the history of the world. But the things that tormented me most were the things that connected me with all living people and all who had ever lived. A friend of the family sent me an email after my memoir was published 6 years ago. And she was complimentary, and she said, I learned stuff about your family I never knew. And then she said something very strange. That argument at that Christmas, she said, my family had a big falling out one Christmas, an argument that started between my dad and my oldest brother. She said that argument started because your siblings were angry when they found out they might be carriers of supercalifragilistic. I thought, what? I was stunned. Have I been so self-absorbed in my own world that I didn't know how my siblings were suffering? So I quickly emailed my sisters, who I'm close to, one brother who I knew was going to be honest with me. His emails are like 3 words, that's it. So I hear back from my sisters, and they say, I don't know what she's talking about. We were not scared when we had our children. We did not do genetic testing. We knew you had made a good life for yourself. We loved you. Why would we worry? I thought, okay, all right. They might be trying to prop me up, but I think they're probably being honest. And then I waited for my brother. And when his email came, it was really long. And I took a deep breath and started reading. And he started telling me his memories of when I was born. So he's 8 years older. And how excited he was, and how my parents were in this celebratory mode, and that my brother realized as he got older that he felt proud of my parents because they treated my brother and I just like anybody else. They loved us just like anybody else. And then he wrote something that I've memorized because it meant so much to me. He said, your presence in our family brought something special we didn't have before. And although it brought a wound and a suffering, because we shared in some way every suffering of yours, we were the better for it. You made us more human, and therefore more happy. More happy? I bawled and bawled and I never thought about it that way. That our presence in our families, because we faced adversity in a different way than maybe they have, deepened them. It added to their heart. It opened their heart. I thought I was a burden. Anybody else felt that way? Yeah, like a burden to our families. Like we're so different. People don't know what to do with us. We think differently. We feel differently. So, that's a good thing. We are adding to the diversity of the world, broadening people's idea about what normal looks like. Underdogs are billboards of hope and courage. They stand for the struggle in every human soul, and they inspire us to find the inner strength to show up, speak up, and rise up. Whenever I see a movie or with an underdog or read a book, and I find myself rooting for them, against all odds, against tall odds in my case, and I love when they overcome their challenges, and it never hit me until I was an adult that I was rooting for myself. I was rooting for you. And it feels good to see the underdog take steps and speak up and rise up, even when things are really, really challenging. You all are underdogs, and the world loves an underdog. So we need to love ourselves in the same way. Feeling different is what we all share in common. It's ironic, right? We're in our own separate little earth suits, and we're in our own places in our homes, thinking we're so weird, we're so different. And then every other human is thinking the same thing. It's almost funny if it didn't break our hearts so often. Just remember, you're not so different. Life is not about how fast you run or how high you jump. Those were my 2 boys when they were little. But how well you bounce. I think we're all getting pretty bouncy. We just got to bounce and then bounce again and then again. Society says, it values productivity and independence and money and image and that cookie cutter look and life. But guess what? It's the challenges that teach us what we're really about. We're bringing an open heart, a sensitive soul to the world that needs it. Have you noticed the world is having trouble lately? And it's not because we don't have enough money or we don't have the right clothes. It's because we don't have enough heart. You've got the heart to share, the soul, the deepening, because of what you've gone through. Great teachers give us back to ourselves. And I'm talking about not the traditional classroom, but like my dwarfism. Huge teacher for me of what matters. And that I matter beyond what's difficult. You all have a message for the world, and you're all born teachers. Because there's so much about your vision that other people need to hear, need to feel and know, and realize how similar we all are in our differences, how much adversity, and everyone goes through it, not just us, everyone. No one is left unscathed by this life. And teaching them how to bounce anyway is a huge and valuable lesson. Something will grow from all you're going through, and it will be you. So we're bouncing and we're growing. And these are intangible gifts compared to our work or our productivity. The intangible nature of who we are and what we bring to the table is huge. The growth. We're here to expand, become more ourselves, more of the possibilities and the potential. Because we have huge potential to change this world that is blind. You can help open hearts and open eyes. Letting life move through an open heart is how we make medicine out of our suffering. The word courage comes from the root, the French root coeur, which means heart. It takes such courage to open up a broken heart and live from that place. In this world that needs you, needs your voice, needs your love, it needs your acceptance, because we have seen the places where we've not been accepted, where we've been judged, and we don't want to do that. We know how that feels. So we're coming from a place of deep understanding, and that makes medicine out of our suffering and out of the people around us who watch us, who are inspired, who want to know how to turn their pain into purpose by the people who are doing it. Only when we know our own darkness can we be present with the darkness of others. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. So we're taking like Compassion 405 in our lifetime. And this world needs compassion in a big way. If you can find compassion for yourself and what you've gone through, and for everyone else you know, because you may not know what they're going through, but they are battling something. And if you're open and honest about what you're up to, you give them permission to be open and honest about who they really are, for better or worse. Your body doesn't limit your ability to love. This was a big one for me. I still forget. Like, we all have this unbelievable amnesia about the greatness inside of us that's more important than this, or what's going on physically. We've got so much more than that to be and to share and to do in this world. I don't want to let my body or the things that I don't like about myself to be on my radar all the time, because guess what? That's what I see. This morning I woke up and my elbow was really hurting. And I thought, I don't want to smell like peppermint because I have this peppermint oil that really helps, but you all would be subjected to candy cane. Is anybody smelling it? Seriously? You didn't smell it either? Okay, I disguised my peppermint, but it made me nervous. And I'm nervous before I come in front of a group anyway. And I thought, oh, is it going to get worse? And then I have to drive back, and I'm starting to focus on what's not going well. And I was like, don't do that. Take my own medicine and start toward the hundreds of things that will go well today and the thousands and millions that will go well in my lifetime. And so my elbow hurts. And so you smell candy canes. The world breaks every one of us, and afterward, we're stronger in the broken places. Do you believe that? It's really true if we make it so. We can let the world break us and then hide. I did that for many years. Really not comfortable. I didn't really enjoy my time hidden away because I was so tired of people laughing at me and staring and judging me before they even knew me. Do I seem different to you now than when you first saw me?
Maybe.
A little bit.
The first time I saw you.
Because we change as we divulge who we really are. It's scary for me, even though I've been doing this about 5 years, it still is so hard to show people who I really am, because if we decide to let someone know who we really are and they reject that or they criticize that, then where am I? Oh wait, I can still love me even if you don't, but it's hard. We're pack animals, right? We're social creatures. We want to belong. We want to be loved. We want to love. But if we let that BS, the belief systems in our head, talk us into not remembering our greatness that's inside just itching to get out, guess what? We'll hide. And sometimes that's okay. I like to hide some weekends. Chill out a little